Hey, Mr. Schmidt.
Hello, how are you, Ruby?
I'm quite good.
Are you sure the volume is going to be okay on this?
I think so. It should be fine.
Okay,
All right. So, Mr. Schmidt, I have a couple of questions for you today.
okay.
So, my first question today will be, when and where were you born? And what was it like where you lived?
Um, I was born right after World War II, 1946, in November. I was born in the United Kingdom, Wales, actually. And it was, as a young kid, I don't really remember much other than the winters were cold and and it rained a lot.
Is that it?
I think so, unless there's something else.
Okay. What were some of the trends that you saw growing up, and how have they changed since?
Now, this was like trends in fashion and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, fashion trends, I think, wow, I wish girls dressed the way they did now when I was a kid.
Mr. Schmidt.
But fashion trends have changed dramatically. I personally, I haven't been impacted by fashion trends as much as some folks. But I think the trend for people to be in control more is also something that I've seen. I think when I was younger, there was more freedom to do pretty much go and do whatever you wanted to do. Nowadays, I think everything is much more structured and controlled.
All right. When you were growing up, who was the one person who influenced you the most?
Oh, I would have to say my father.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you want to know why?
Yeah, that would be nice, Mr. Schmidt.
He influenced me the most because he was very hardworking, very fair kind of guy, very smart, had a great sense of humor, loved life, and was very well respected in the community.
Okay. Do you miss him?
Do I miss him?
Do you miss him?
Do I what?
Do you miss him?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
In fact, we, after he died, we took his ashes, and he was one of those kind of guys that liked the ocean. So we went on my boat, which I lived on for a while, and went out into the ocean and spread his ashes there. So now my brother and I go to the Marin Headlands every year on the anniversary of his passing, and drink a good Polish vodka in his name.
All right.
Then somebody has to carry us back home.
Okay. If you could talk to your parents now, what would you say to them?
I would ask them, well, first I guess I would say thanks for helping me grow up, and then I would ask them some questions about how they got to where they were, why, what happened. My father was in World War II. How did that work for him? Because he didn't really talk very much about that.
Okay. What world events would you say impacted you while you were growing up?
Probably the biggest world event that impacted me the most was the Vietnam War. I was one of those kids that protested the war actively. So being engaged in that, very emotional events and activities, and I had friends who died in the war that I was protesting, but so that was probably one of the biggest events that had an impact on me.
What were some of life's greatest challenges for you?
Well, I don't remember this one, but my greatest challenge probably was being serious. I tend to be goofy and silly and all of that kind of stuff. So being serious and being more thoughtful are probably some big challenges for me, even today.
Okay. What are you most proud of in your life? And you can say more than one thing.
Oh, okay. Okay, good, because there's several things I'm proud of. One is that I'm a first generation kid in the United States and first person to graduate from the university in the family. My other brothers graduated as well, but it was kind of special, me graduating. Another thing that I'm proud of was the fact that I coached my swimming team for several years, and we became one of the top teams in California. Produced some tough, really good swimmers and the kids that worked through them. And then the business that I developed with my three partners, that that was an outstanding accomplishment, and we feel especially proud of that. So I don't know if I should mention my wedding and all of that kind of stuff. I should?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
Because that was pretty special too, actually, finding somebody who thought I was capable enough of being serious to marry. So that would be my wife and my kids and all of that.
Were there any turning points in your life? Like events that made you change who you were, or maybe events that impacted your decisions in life?
I don't know that they changed who I was, because I still think I am who I was, except I'm a little bit more serious. But getting married had a significant impact on me, and my wife still contends that she still has a child living at home. And then of course my children. We have three kids, one older daughter and two older sons that are twins.
Okay. What would you say was the happiest time in your life, or the happiest few times in your life?
Happiest times. I guess probably, I can't think of a time that I wasn't happy. I was stressed. I was very stressed on the last business that I tried to pull off. But it was just my family. I was happy around my family. I was happy when I was working with kids, both in swimming and in teaching. I'm happy when I'm out in the water, either swimming. We had a couple of boats that we used, water skiing and living on and that kind of thing.
Okay. What are some of the most important lessons you've learned in life?
Most important lesson is never give up. Stay the course. Don't give up. You're going to get slapped around, but just keep going. Sort of like that image I have of the frog being eaten by the whatever it is.
Pelican, I
Pelican,
think.
yeah, and the frog has the pelican by the throat.
Yeah. How has technology changed your life?
It's changed my life dramatically. I started out as a teacher, became a programmer, and I had the opportunity to live at a time when technology was in its infancy. So what we did was all cutting edge stuff, and so having that, and then seeing what it is today and how quickly things change was pretty interesting.
What technology has been most helpful to you?
I think the computers, the iPads, the phones, the hearing aids have all been the most useful for me because I use them all the time. The cell phone today is more powerful than the computers we wrote software for in the 80s. So
Okay, so this is kind of a big question because this definitely has impacted all of our lives. So, how has the world actually changed from when you were growing up to now? Because I know I feel like a lot of the decencies we used to have, we don't have anymore. So, what do you think has changed the most?
Freedoms.
Freedoms?
Yeah. I think when I was a kid, we had much, much more freedom to do things, to roam, to play, to go anywhere. I don't think that kids, 15, 16, 17-year-old kids would go to San Francisco and spend a day by themselves without, some sort of adult or something being around, or maybe a gaggle of them would do that. But we had much more freedom to act and much more freedom to do different things that we don't have today. That are because I think kids are more controlled. We went trick or treating during Halloween in the neighborhood, and today that doesn't happen. I don't think we've had a trick or treater in 20 years at our house.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yep.
All right, we're almost done with the questions, I promise. So, how do you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered as somebody who, I know I have an answer, but I'm still struggling with trying to remember that one. I think being an innovative person, willing to try different things, I want to be remembered for that. Being helpful, working with kids to get them from point A to point B, being engaged in that process, and being sort of that lovable, crazy guy.
All right, and lastly, what advice would you give me as a young adult going into adulthood, actual adulthood?
Going into adulthood, don't take life so seriously. I think we're too serious. We need to play more. There's plenty of time to be serious when you're 50 or 60 years old. Have fun. Enjoy yourself. Try new things. When you're 50 or 60 years old, don't sit down and around a table with a bunch of other 50 or 60-year-old people and say, gosh, I wish we would have tried that, or I wish I would have gone here. Do that as a young person. Don't be so conservative.
All right, thank you, Mr. Schmidt, for answering my questions today.
You're welcome.